crocodiles sleep? Which animals are alert even while sleeping? And which ones manage to sleep while moving? Now you'll find it out. In this episode, I'll show you how different animals sleep in unusual ways and tell you interesting facts about animals and sleep. Let's go! Crocodile. Let's start with these famous toothy creatures. They have the most powerful bite in the world among land animals. They can eat anyone, including very strong and large prey, which means that after this they need to digest everything properly and sleep. The crocodile's sleep is different, but one thing is invariable. These reptiles sleep a lot, at least 17 hours a day. Most of all, the crocodiles like to sleep in shallow water. It dives into the water half, keeps its head on the surface of the water, or puts it on the shore and thus sleeps and cools down at the same time. Crocodiles have unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. That is, only one hemisphere of their brain sleeps. The second is vigilant, so if anything happens, the crocodile will be ready to instantly attack anyone who dares to disturb its peace. If there's no water nearby, the crocodile can fall asleep in the traditional way, just lying down. In this case, however, crocodiles often open their mouths. No, not to show their aggression or something like that. These reptiles don't sweat, so this way they just cool down in their sleep because they live in hot places. Well, in rare cases, the crocodile can cosplay a human and try to sleep on its back. Several times crocodiles were noticed sleeping in this position. To see such an unusual phenomenon is rare because in such a position the crocodile is vulnerable. Sperm whale. Next, we have the largest predator of the planet. Not kind but toothed whale, the sperm whale, which, unlike the good whales, feeds not on plankton and krill, but on giant squids up to 60 feet long. But that's not the point now. We're interested in the sperm whale's sleep, and it's super short. Scientists believe that the sperm whale sleeps the least among all animals in the world. These whales sleep from 10 to 15 minutes, wake up, swim, eat, and then sleep a little again. If a person on average sleeps about 30% of the total time in a day, then in the sperm whale this value does not exceed 7%. It's a little more than an hour and a half a day. As you've already noticed, their sleeping position is interesting. Sperm whales sleep vertically, and they do it near the surface. Everything's logical here. The sperm whale, like other mammals, breathes with its lungs and cannot stay underwater forever, so it needs to take in air sometimes. The sperm whale very slowly and smoothly sinks to the bottom and then makes a sharp swish with its tail and quickly rises back to the surface. After taking a gulp of air, it starts dozing again and slowly sinks back down. By the way, both hemispheres of the brain stop active work simultaneously in sleeping sperm whales. Dolphin. And this is a completely different case. In dolphins, one of the brain hemispheres is always active, and this manifests itself, among other things, in sleep. You've probably heard that dolphins sleep with one eye open. Well, it's true. This is the very manifestation of one hemisphere at work. And again, it makes sense. Dolphins are mammals, so they can't stay underwater all the time. The awake part of the brain signals when to come to the surface to breathe if the dolphin's sleeping. After about 2 hours, the brain hemispheres switch so the working hemisphere can rest. In addition, one open eye allows dolphins to monitor the situation around them. Who knows, maybe some hungry predator will swim by. In this case, the dolphin will be able to react and defend itself or save its babies. In addition, the open eye allows dolphins to avoid bumping into obstacles because they can move in their sleep. This usually happens when dolphins sleep in a pod. A group of mammals falls asleep and slowly drifts underwater. There's also the more traditional way. Simply fall asleep in a horizontal or vertical position, and some dolphin species can fall into a deep sleep, floating on the surface of the water like a log. Sea otter. Otters are different. There are, for example, giant otters, the largest among all otters on the planet. They look formidable, are up to 6.5 feet long, and are very dangerous. A family of giant otters can kill even an anaconda, a jaguar, or a caiman. And then there are sea otters. They're smaller, not so dangerous, and most importantly, they're very cute. The cuteness manifests itself in their sleep. Sea otters sleep more romantic than any other animals on the planet. They sleep in pairs in the water, holding each other's hands in their sleep. and sometimes literally hugging each other. Although it looks insanely touching, sea otters do it not to show their love, they do it to avoid being swept away by the current. In such pairs, one otter sleeps and the second one stays awake, keeping an eye on the situation and fighting the currents if necessary. If there is no sleep partner nearby, the sea otter can use a life hack. It wraps itself in seaweed and thus reduces the chance that it'll be carried away by the current somewhere far away in the sea or the ocean. It should be said that proper sleeping skills in the water are very important for sea otters because they rest and sleep for about 11 hours a day. Sometimes you wish you could become a sea otter or a crocodile for a week to get a good sleep, but I'm sure many of us sleep about as little as the next creatures of the episode, elephants. As for the sleep duration in captivity, elephants sleep from 3 to 7 hours a day, but in the wild they sleep only a couple hours a day. And I'm talking about the total duration. In general, elephants rarely sleep more than 40 minutes at a time. At the same time, they're light sleepers. Even in their sleep, elephants continue to hear everything that's happening around them. This is necessary so that in case of a threat to life, the giants can quickly react and escape. As a rule, they sleep standing up. Their body structure allows them to relax and nap in this state without any discomfort. Elephants usually sleep in a tight group, but sometimes elephants can lie down on the ground and sleep in a human way, if I may say so. Paradoxically, their sleep is more dangerous in this state. Scientists believe that because of the huge mass of the giants, in the lying position, they can injure their internal organs themselves if they sleep longer than they should. In this respect, by the way, elephants are similar to another giants, giraffes. These tall animals can also sleep standing or lying down, but unlike elephants, these animals with long necks prefer to lie down and sleep on the ground. The main problem here is to put the neck so that it doesn't get in the way. To do this, the giraffe curls up and bends its neck so that its head is on its butt or its hind limb. Giraffes sleep longer than elephants, but by our standards, they hardly get enough sleep. They rarely sleep more than 4 to 5 hours a day. Many animals are lucky that they can stop, find a secluded place, and sleep for at least a few hours, but there are some that sleep on the move. The common swift is a perfect example. These animals are very interesting. First, they fly the fastest in the world, if we're talking about the classic horizontal flight, 69 miles per hour. And secondly, common swifts fly literally all the time. Except for a couple of months of mating period, which these birds spend on the ground, they spend all their time in the air, not stopping flying. On the fly, they catch insects to feed on, drink water from rivers, and sleep. They sleep like dolphins, leaving one hemisphere of the brain or the other to work. In order not to crash into anything while sleeping, common swifts fly high into the sky, glide at high altitude, and occasionally move their wings. In this way, they save energy and rest, preparing to regain full speed after waking up. Sharks. These toothy and dangerous sea creatures are somewhat similar to common swifts. They too are constantly on the move, and unlike swifts, this is vital for them. Most shark species need to move constantly to keep breathing. This is because sharks don't have a swim bladder, which allows other fish to hang motionless in the water. The shark's body is denser than the water it displaces, so the shark can only stay afloat if it's constantly moving. If the shark will not move, it'll go to the bottom and, as paradoxical as it may sound, may even drown, because only in motion sharks are able to pump water through the gills and breathe. And if the shark doesn't drown, it may be crushed by pressure as it goes to the bottom. For this reason, many people believe that sharks do not sleep at all, but this is actually not true. Sharks can sleep, but not for long, only about an hour, because otherwise they'll die from lack of oxygen, which they receive during movement. And some shark species, those that are benthic, have learned to sleep by pumping water through their gills. They lie down on the bottom, use the opening and closing of their mouth, and synchronized work of the gill muscles and pharynx. There are also cunning sharks that choose places in the ocean with active water and currents. Thus, the water itself enters their gills, the fish will not drown, will not go to the bottom, and can sleep a little. But no matter how you look at it, its sleep will be short. I'm sure many sharks would like to get a good sleep and are jealous of animals that spend much more time in the dream world. By the way, do you know what creature sleeps the most? It's the koala. Just imagine, the koala can sleep up to 22 hours a day. That is, it sleeps practically all day long. All digits of the koala's forepaws end with strong claws. This allows the animal to effectively grip the branches of trees, closing the forepaws in a secure lock, and it helps a young koala to cling tenaciously to the mother's fur. In this position, the koala can sleep very long and comfortably. The fact that koalas are sleepyheads is simply explained. These Australian animals feed on eucalyptus. It's poorly nutritious, and koalas have a slow metabolism. They eat little, rest a lot, and constantly stay in energy-saving mode. What can lift your spirits better than cute animals? They're adorable babies. Next, I'll show you the cutest baby animals you haven't seen in person yet. Many of you are used to seeing horses, big, proud, and strong, galloping across the field. But could you imagine that this stately animal was such a sweetheart as a baby? Take a look at this little horse, the mere sight of which brings smiles to your face. How great this foal is on its feet, isn't it? By the way, did you know that foals spend about 11 months in the womb before getting on their hooves? Just one day after being born, this creature can already walk, and in another day it's quite likely to run.
Hi, you're really cute. Hello. You're seriously cute. Hello.
Baby goat. This cutest creature is even smaller than the foal. The little baby goat is covered with spots, which looks very nice. It has a thin tongue and a small mouth, which makes it tries to say something to the person in front of it. It makes you want to take this baby home and raise it as a pet, just like a dog. Curiously enough, the baby goats really do look a lot like dogs. According to scientists, they were domesticated more than 9,000 to 10,000 years ago. However, there's a separate species, mountain goats, which cannot be kept at home. They're not suited to such an environment. Chameleons. Next, we have some of the most interesting lizards on Earth. They've been able to change their body coloration depending on their light, ambient temperature, and humidity since they were babies. Or, for example, depending on their mood. As soon as this curious creature is born, it immediately runs into the bushes because hunger gets the better of it. In the grass, it can hide from predators and eat insects. At first, hatchlings end up in trees where their mother gives birth to them. Usually, about 14 little chameleons are born, and they stick to the branches only because of the egg grease in which they're born. And as soon as the hatchling falls to the ground, it receives a kind of signal that it's time to become more independent. Now the lizard goes in search of food and shelter. The females do not take care of their babies in any way. Seal. Pups, otherwise known as baby seals, have especially large and beautiful eyes, as well as fluffy fur. Am I the only one who really wants to pick them up and cuddle them? Write in the comments if you have similar emotions. However, I have to disappoint you, it won't last long. At first, the pup has a weight of about 17.6 pounds and a greenish coat. After a couple of days, the color of the coat changes to white, and now the baby can be rightly called a white coat. With this coloring, the baby easily hides in the snow and avoids dangerous creatures. After a few more weeks, the mother stops feeding its baby and it begins to molt. Well, the last stage of growth can be considered the one where the baby completely throws off its thick and so nice fur. It's at this stage that the little seal will get used to hunting as well as diving and swimming. Chipmunks. Even the most calloused person on Earth would love these rodents. The little creatures are so cute and beautiful from infancy. Not many of them are born, usually up to 6 in a litter. All of them are bald at first. However, fairly quickly the little chipmunks grow fur. Only 14 days are enough. At the end of another week, chipmunks will open their eyes, and at 120 to 150 days they'll leave their own shelter and begin full adult life, which by the way lasts about 2 to 4 years. Father's son. And these are penguins. The creatures in the video look like toys or computer graphics. They're so cute and unusual. Curiously, as soon as a baby penguin is born, the female gives it up completely, and the chick is raised by the father. The father even feeds the chick with its milk. This continues until the chick grows wings. Usually by that time, it's almost reached its full size. The babies eat what their father burps up for them, half-digested crustaceans and the like. The safest place, according to penguins, is this, down by daddy's belly. must be really warm and safe because penguins come into the world without feathers, which means that it's not so easy for them to get warm. But it's really no big deal because feathers grow up in about a couple of weeks. Armadillo. Next up is an animal that has a hard coating on its back. Its shell is a complete bone derived from its spine. And in fact, the shell is not the only proof that their bodies are well developed. For example, armadillos can fully move around just a few hours after birth. However, at that point, they'll be without their shield from danger. The baby spends its first time with its mother. Initial development may take several years. All this time, the shell hardens and the armadillo learns to eat full-fledged adult food. Sloth. This is the creature that, in the eyes of most people, is the standard of all that is slowest. But do you know why this creature is so slow? The fact is that the sloth is one of the most efficient creatures. It has only 25% muscle tissue and a very low metabolism. Because of this, it moves only when it really needs to, walking 10 feet per minute. Nevertheless, if it needs to run somewhere fast or do something else, it can easily cope with such a task. The cubs appear in a tree where their parents spend most of their time. From the earliest minutes of its appearance, the baby learns to be independent. It itself has to climb up the mom's fur. Since climbing trees is even harder, it's the only option for survival. At the age of 9 months, the baby leaves its mother and moves to another place, turning it into its territory. By about 2.5 years of age, the cubs reach the size of adults. A strange animal. What do you think this little creature is? At first glance, it looks like some kind of alien. But in fact, it's a well-known mammal, echidna. This amazing animal appears from eggs, and its body's covered with spines. To make it easier to understand, in the case of the echidna, the spines are analogous to hair. Just so you understand, once the puggle's born, it can weigh less than a gram. The baby then grows in a pouch, feeding on milk for 2 months, so it gains weight quickly. And after a couple of weeks, it'll weigh about 18 ounces. Koala. This marsupial herbivore always evokes a lot of positive emotions in people. Especially when they come across a still small creature, the look of which makes you smile involuntarily. By the way, did you know that the word koala comes from an Aboriginal word that means no drink? It's not that they don't drink water themselves and don't need it, but that they get it from food or by other means. For example, they get their moisture not only from the leaves they eat, but also from licking tree trunks. Joeys are born weighing only a few grams. They look like jellyfish. They have no ears, no fur, and in general they see nothing. But that's only for now. After 6 months, which the little koala spends in its mother's pouch, the baby begins to resemble an adult. It travels on its mother's back for a while, and then it goes on to full life. Polar bear. And this is a very strong, dangerous, and ferocious creature. However, as a baby, it's the opposite, just like everyone else. At a young age, the polar bear is incredibly cute, and you just want to squeeze it. Polar bear cubs are born blind. Their fur is quite short. It's definitely not long enough to survive in the harsh environment. For this purpose, the cubs are placed in special shelters prepared in advance by the mother. Usually, the female makes a full-fledged tunnel up to about 10 feet long, in which its newborn baby, which weight is about 2 pounds and length is about 8 to 12 inches, would fit comfortably. Pretty quickly, the first 5 weeks fly by, and the young polar bear can already open its eyes. In another 2 weeks, it'll be able to walk. Elephants. These are incredible animals that always amaze people with their enormous size. As a calf, however, this creature is no less cute than any other. While elephants are still small, they weigh about 200 to 260 pounds. Also, these guys from birth are very strong and independent. A few hours after birth, the elephant can already move independently, following the herd. However, this is the exception rather than the rule. Usually, parents give a baby a little more time to get used to the environment. Usually, it's a couple of days. In general, this kind of care and gestures of attention and concern are given by parents from 3 to 9 years until the next birth of the female. It's only at this considerable age that the baby elephant will have the size and capabilities to fend for itself. Hedgehog. Many people have seen this animal in their country houses, but not many people have personally encountered a cute baby hedgehog. Isn't it cute? And now you're watching a relatively mature animal. From birth, hedgehogs are about 2.5 inches long, see nothing, and are completely naked. The baby impresses with an unprotected bright pink skin. The only things hoglets are capable of at birth is crawling and squeaking. Nature gave them these skills for a reason. The first is for moving around, and the second is for their mother to find them by the sound. Turtle and monkeys. We all know the way turtles actively defend themselves from various predators, skillfully swim right out of the jaws of a shark and stuff. Yes, these armored guys are certainly capable of it, but sometimes even these creatures with their strong shell need to pause and rest for a bit. For example, one can do it on the lawn where the grass is peacefully chewed by still very small monkeys. These animals won't hurt the turtle as they're seeing it for the first time. Well, at first the apes were a little afraid of the barely moving creature, but soon gathered in a small group, they did dare to pay a visit. Apparently, the turtle also sees monkeys for the first time and doesn't know how dangerous they are. I can't explain the protective action on its part any other way, so how long is it gonna hide there like that? This monkey thought to itself, and decided to bring the turtle back to it with a neat kiss. The amazing thing is that it worked. In just a couple of moments, the turtle realized that nothing forebodes trouble for it, which means that it can safely continue its long but extremely exciting journey for tasty grass. The first, swimming. If encountering some creatures is something natural for animals because they can smell it and observe it from the side, then bathing and swimming are much more difficult for them. It's unlikely that tigers are told about water by their relatives since childhood. Luckily for the striped animals, this day the workers of the wildlife preserve where the animals live intend to acquaint them with this beautiful process. As a helper, the people use a tiger-colored bait and a camera set underneath it to show us the animals' reactions. In this story, two brothers had to swim. The first was the more shy and cautious one. Even though it had started the process, it could never manage it. The second brother, on the other hand, was much more self-confident. It followed the bait without much thought and, without realizing it, took a bath for the first time in its life. A little more time passed, and already with the help of the human, the first tiger cub also experienced the full range of pleasures of this process. I wonder what the animals felt at that moment. That's all, guys. Which reaction surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.